Let's talk about all of this with military and defence analyst Colonel Simon Diggins now. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thank you very well. Not on a private jet in Russia is how I am, and I'd advise most people as well. Don't go near balcony windows. Don't eat anything that Putin gives you. Many people are viewing this, if it is the case that Prigozhen is dead and that he was on that jet, as a revenge assassination, which ultimately would have come on the orders of Vladimir Putin. Is that what you think happened?
I think it's very likely. There was a pattern to this. We saw in our own country the murder of Alexander Litvenko, the Skripal attacks. We've seen earlier on he's been removing generals. He removed General Surovkin, who was known as General Armageddon very recently. There's a certain amount of clearing up and sorting out. He also made it very, very clear just after the coup, when he didn't move immediately against Prigozhin, that he regarded what he regarded as, he said, betrayal is the one thing he cannot forgive. And given his record, it's not surprising that he's done what he's done. Prigozhin has humiliated him. I mean, there was lots of speculation about whether or not there was a sort of coup in order to clear out the general staff. Bluntly, I think as Prigozhin got too big for his boots, Putin was forced to make an arrangement with Lukashenko, who's also one of his vassals. So he has to go to one of his vassals, President of Belarus, to arrange for Prigozhin to be given a sort of get-out-of-jail clause. But it was only temporary, and I think we're now seeing the response.
Yeah, well, indeed. I mean, lots of people were saying they thought it was amazing that he'd lasted this long. The reality is, this could be a decoy, and Prigozhin and his deputy and his security chief weren't on that plane at all, but wanted people to believe they were. It could have been that there was a surface-to-air missile attack, as some have been claiming in Wagner Telegram groups, that killed them, and it was a deliberate attack. It could be that the Russians want everyone to think that Prigozhin is dead, but they've actually taken him into custody somewhere. We don't know for sure, and everyone is very, very careful about what they say, but we think that. But we can't trust anything that comes out of, a Russian government or Russian officials, can we? But this is the most likely scenario. Why do you think, though, if this was an assassination of a rival, why do you think Vladimir Putin allowed him to walk away from that attempted coup attempt, in a failed coup attempt in June? Why was he able to go to Belarus? Why was he able to, get on a private jet between Moscow and St. Petersburg when he was supposedly exiled in Belarus? That's not what we would normally expect of Vladimir Putin when he's talked about someone who's betrayed him.
Except Putin has also said in the past that revenge is a dish best eaten cold. Oh. So he has a record of not necessarily moving after people immediately, not least of which because they were at one stage, there were 5,000 armed and by this stage quite experienced Wagner group soldiers around. And if he'd moved after them immediately in the kind of heat and passion of the coup, they might well have responded. So I think he was biding his time, knowing that he would have the time on his side. And Prigozhin, by having been forced to move to Belarus, was then going to be on the back foot. So this is a very cold, calculating chess player, and that he was just biding his time, I would have thought.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. It looks better for him to be about his time. And yet, as you say, it's very much his modus operandi. When he does get rid of his rivals or anyone who's betrayed him, or critics, even, rival, political candidates and the like, he likes to do it in a way where he has, reasonable, plausible deniability, as in he's not there on the scene, pressing the button. But he wants people to know that it was him, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, the modus operandi is straight out of sort of the KGB book of tactics. You make it appear that something else happened, or at least as a story that can be put out. But you just let people know that actually they were responsible for it. But what it does create, though, is a sort of attention and fear within Russia itself. I mean, they've got presidential elections coming up next year. Now, they're not exactly what you might call a sort of democratic election, but nonetheless, there is an element of opposition, an element of him having to play the democratic game. So there's that side of it. I mean, I think the only thing I would say is that it just shows Russia to be a fundamentally sort of mafia state. And I think there will be people, even within his oligarchy, oligopoly, whatever they want to call it, who will be thinking, do you know what, this guy is so dangerous that we don't know when he's going to turn on me. Let's do him in first.
But that was kind of what we saw with that attempted coup, and these Wagner troops, just a few thousand of them, marching. They seize a major town, it's a major city. They marched within 2 hours of Moscow. The Russian military quite literally putting down their weapons and walking away. They met no resistance whatsoever, other than military being ordered to go dig up the cement in the roads to try and stop them moving forward with their tanks. That was a really big giveaway that basically Putin's power rests on people believing he will be in power. The moment people think that it's in their interest to walk away from Putin, or that he's going to fall, that support, that backing, it disappears within seconds.
Yeah, he at some point, the group of people at the moment who see their advantage in supporting him will come to an opposite conclusion, and I suspect Putin's end will be as inglorious as he deserves, frankly.
Yeah, and just finally, is Vladimir Putin now... I mean, people say he was really, quite fatally weakened by that attempt to get the fact that it got so far and that Wagner survived it. Is now, with Wagner's death, Prigozhen's death, if that is the case, does that leave Putin stronger again? Does it leave him still weakened but a bit more shored up? Where does it leave him?
I think temporarily it leaves him stronger. I mean, he's removed a sort of power base within the kind of military structures. I mean, because at one point we had a situation where Prigozhen was forming a group within the Soviet, the Russian military. I mean, there was very clear evidence of the links to GRU, the Russian military intelligence organization that was ongoing. Surovkin, I'd say, the Air Force general, appeared to be directly linked to that. That's been removed, and General Shoigu and Gerasimov, who are the two senior leaders of the Russian armed forces, will probably temporarily at least be breathing a sigh of relief. But I suspect it's a bit more like the July plot against Hitler in '44, temporarily stronger, but actually fundamentally weaker, because it shows his opposition to him, and his only response is this kind of high level of violence.
Colonel Simon Diggins, great to get your analysis. Thank you for that, a military and defence analyst there.